All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and thanks for joining today's event at the Building on Layer 2 community. So my name is Juan Trevino, and I'm project coordinator at Blockstream, and I'm the PM for our Asset Issuer tool, which is what we will be talking about today. So as you might have seen in the description of this event, I'm going to demo the Blockstream Asset Issuer tool, and I'll give you a preview of all of the improvement that we've been working on to make a solid and easy to use GUI that lets people explore asset issues on Liquid and get their hands dirty with Liquid. There you go. All right. But before, let me start by showing you like the amazing people that are behind this product, whose great work made possible this new release. That includes a few improvements and new features that we hope will make your life easier and fun when issuing and managing your Liquid assets. So we have Randy and Eric. They are the rockstar developers of the Asset Issuer tool, and they're the wizards that pack everything together and turn our ideas and designs into reality. We also have Bashak and Patrick from the design team, and they beautify this tool, and they have put a lot of thought and effort on making sure that users have an intuitive and friendly and smooth experience while using this tool. And finally, we have Matthew that has guided us and helped us shape this tool with his deep expertise in AMP and asset issuance, Liquid and Elements. So thanks, Matthew. And then finally, I have myself. What I do is I help grease the wheels and clear the path so we can keep things moving forward. Also, I want to give a shout out to Zach, and he was a former product manager for this tool, and he helped bootstrap this project. Sorry, Zach, I couldn't find a picture of you in time. And then also the DevOps team that, behind the scenes make sure that this tool operates smoothly. So before we jump into the demo, I want to give you a bit of a context in the case there's some people that are new to Liquid. So I'll briefly describe what Liquid is and what type of assets a user can issue in this network. Then I'll give you like a rationale of why we decided to build this tool. And that includes also a bit of like the architecture of this tool. And then we'll jump into the demo part. So I'll present you with like a really simple case that I'll use to showcase this tool. And finally, hopefully we'll have some time for some Q&A. All right, so let's jump to it. So the Liquid network is a layer 2 solution that's structured as a federated Bitcoin sidechain. So this means that Liquid is a separated blockchain that runs in parallel to the Bitcoin main chain. And it is connected to it via a two-way peg. So through the pegging process, Bitcoin is transferred from the Bitcoin main chain into Liquid, where then users can benefit from additional features like confidential transactions, faster and more regular transactions, and the ability to issue assets on chain. Also, like in addition, Liquid has some advanced scripting capabilities with additional opcodes. So people, like some developers, can use these extra opcodes to build decentralized exchanges. You can deploy covenants to create complex financial products. So Liquid provides this Bitcoin-centric financial layer for these types of products. And it can also act as a testbed for innovation that sometimes can be potentially ported back into the Bitcoin main chain, as for instance, like what happened with Segwit. So that's a brief explanation of Liquid, but if you want to learn more, please visit this URL at the docs.liquid.net site. And all right, so as I mentioned before, asset issuance is one of these key features that Liquid provides. And there are mainly two categories of Liquid assets that you can issue there, and those are standard assets and AMP assets. So the standard assets are permissionless, so anyone can easily issue them. There are no restrictions on who can transact them. And in addition, like all these transactions in Liquid by default are covered by confidential transactions. So only the sender and the receiver know the amount and type of asset that's been transacted. So like any external observers, and that includes the original issuer or any federation members, they don't have access to this data unless the people that are involved in the transaction, they decide to share it. Some of examples of assets that might be issued like standard assets are like voucher tokens, stable coins, or NFTs. And the tool that I'll demo today will be focused on this type of assets. So like I'll show you how to issue standard assets on Liquid. On the other hand, then we have AMP assets, which are more useful for security tokens or assets that require some sort of regulation, like some financial products. So in this case, the original issuer, they can define the rules of who can transact with these assets, and they have a more granular control over it. And in addition, although the movement of these assets is also confidential for external observers, like in terms of amount and type of asset, the issuer in this case have access to ownership and transaction data, so they can trace how this asset moves. And these are called AMP assets because the extra rules that I mentioned are enforced by the AMP server. And again, if you want to learn more about AMP, please visit this URL at docs.liquid.net. So why did we decide to build this tool? So issuing assets on the Liquid network is relatively easy, but it requires some technical expertise and a bit of like familiarity with command line tools. And in addition, if you want to manage the full life cycle of your asset, you might have to jump between different processes. So while streamlining this is possible, it can be tricky and it can take some time. So we saw this gap and we wanted to provide an intuitive and friendly way so everyone could start exploring asset issuance on Liquid and getting their hands dirty, regardless of their technical background. And at this point, like, I also want to mention that there are out there some excellent tools that can also be used to issue assets on Liquid, like the one that was built by Spectre or I know Digital. They've also been working on this, and I think there's a previous presentation on building on layer 2 where people from Digital show this tool. But there's some differences between those tools and our tool. So a bit of the architecture of what I'll present today. So our tool is a non-custodial asset issuer, and that's composed of a React app, which is the touch point for the user, and that's the part that translates the user request. So this React app, it talks to an asset issuance service that coordinates asset issuance from our Elements node. And it also interacts with the asset registry on behalf of the user. So the asset registry is the place where we store like metadata, like the metadata for the issued assets. And as I said, because it's a non-custodial tool, we do need a Liquid wallet to receive these assets and sign transactions. So currently what we have, what we support in our tool is Marina wallet extension that's developed by Bullpen. And we'll see a bit more about it during the demo. So I'm going to present you the use case, like the sample use case that I'll use to like demo the tool. And this this use case is called the Cagané use case. I don't know if you heard about the Cagané, but that's like a tradition in Catalonia in Spain. So when you set your nativity scene, you know, you have baby Jesus and everyone there, the whole family. And in Catalonia, you always put this figurine, which is, as you can see, a pooping man. And that's, yeah, like baby Jesus can be missing from the nativity scene, but not the Cagané. You always need to have the Cagané there. So in my use case, I do have a store and I do build these Cagané figurines, but I want to be able to, when I go to an event, maybe give some type of voucher to people so they can use it to redeem it for Caganes. So what I do is like I create a Liquid asset that represents that Cagané. So when I go to a meetup and I can send that asset to people, they can receive it in their wallets. And then with that, they can go and access my e-commerce platform and then can redeem that token for a Cagané figurine. So I'm going to jump now to the demo. That was the simple use case, and I'll show you how we can make that reality. right, so I'm going to go to this URL. That's asset.blockstream.com. And here, to create an account, that's really easy. Just go to create. You just need to provide your email and password. I already have an account, so I'm going to log in. So this is what you see on the plug. Can you confirm, Chase, that we can still see my screen and the tool?
It is confirmed. Looks good.
Perfect. All right. All right. So remember my use case. I'm this proud owner of the Kagane store. So I access this tool, and then I do have an option here to issue my asset. So it's like a brief explanation of what this tool is and the things that you need. So as we mentioned, it's non-custodial, so you will need a liquid asset that can be, in this case, we're going to use a Marina wallet. You can use other type of liquid assets, but I'll let you know what limitations it has. So I'm going to go ahead and connect my Marina wallet. I already have that extension installed in here. So that's my Marina wallet. You can learn more about Marina, the Bullpen Ventures website. Really nice wallet extension. So I'm going to go ahead and connect it. You can see like Blockstream Green, we're also working on making that available to be used with this tool, but that will come in the future. So right now, I'm going to go and connect my Marina wallet. So it requests access to my Marina wallet. So I'm going to go ahead and connect. That's connected. And we're going to start the process of issuing the standard asset. You can see that we also have here the issue tracked transfer restricted. So these two are AMP assets, but these are not currently supported. And I'll talk more about that once we're done. So we'll issue that standard asset for Kagane. So here you have all the attributes that you can add to your asset. So as a name, I'm gonna call it Kagane 1. Ticker is like a shorter version of the name that you can put if you want. That's an optional thing, and that will show up in the wallets. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put Kana. Domain ownership. So for like to link your asset with your project or your domain, so add authenticity to your asset, or like if people want to learn what that asset is related to, what we do is like we ask you to add a domain here that might represent your project, and we link that information with the asset. So there's like this information is committed to the asset, so people know that that token belongs to that project. So it's like adding a bit of like veracity to your token. So I'm going to use a test one. And finally, the collection field, it's in case you want to sort of like classify your asset under a collection. So it's still not widely used and not standardized. But like one example I could give you is like my store. Like I could put the name of my store here, and then my product, which is Kagane. And let's say that I produce a specific version of this figurine every year, so that will fall under this category. But I'm gonna leave that one empty for now. This is also an optional field. All right, so at this point, we define the amount that we want to issue for this asset. I'm gonna make it simple, it's 21 here. And we also have to define decimal places. So what's the smallest unit that can be transferred from these assets? In my case, you need one token for one figurine. So I'm just gonna keep the precision or like decimal places to 0. Like you can't send me half a token and then I won't send you half of the figurine. So I'll keep that one as 0, but keep in mind that you can also move that up to like 8 decimal places if you want. We can also decide if the issuance of this asset is public or not. So usually for transparency, you want to say yes, like I want everyone to go and check the blockchain and see that I've issued this amount of tokens. And if I want to reissue more of these tokens, I'll select yes, so I can receive some reissuance tokens. And what happens with reissuance? So reissuance is not the amount of this token that I want to create in the future. Like, let's say I want to create 21 more in the future. I don't need to put 21 here. The reissuance tokens is just, let's call it like an authorization key that lets you create whatever amount you want from that asset in the future. So if you wanted to create an asset that has a hard cap that can never be inflated, you basically say, I don't want to create any more of this. So that will be the hard cap for my Kaganes. But I do want to create more in the future. Maybe I have different versions or there's more demand. So then I create more of my Kagane voucher token. And I'll select two because maybe I want to keep one of these reissuance tokens in cold storage just in case I lose the other one. And I'll use the second one as my main reissuance token. All right. As you can see, we do need a wallet, like an address to receive this asset. And because we already have my wallet connected, the tool has already like pulled an address from my connected Merino wallet. But it's still possible to enter an address manually. So if you have a green wallet, sideswap wallet, any other liquid wallet, you could come and paste the address here. But keep in mind that for a lot of the actions that I'll show after the issuance, you won't be able to do them unless you have a connected Merino wallet. So in my case, I'll use my connected Merino wallet and we'll move ahead. At this step, you have the information that you've added for this token. So you can review the name, domain that you've used, the amount that you can issue and the wallet that will receive, and the reissuance tokens that you've created. Keep in mind that once you hit request issuance, all this information it's committed to the asset, so it can't be changed afterwards. But I'm happy with what I see, so I'm gonna go and request issuance. There we go. So right now my app has communicated with the asset issuer server and have used our elements node to create this issuance transaction. You can see it in the Explorer if you want. So that's of course still unconfirmed, but that's having all the details like this new asset, the amount that's been issued, and how many reissuance tokens. And you can see this in the Explorer because I, selected to be a public. All right. So the next step after this is to prove the ownership. So that's what I was mentioning before, that you want to link your asset to a domain, so a website. For instance, like if I were the issuer of Tether, the liquid Tether, then I'll put the tether.to domain, and that will give authenticity to that asset. So that'll confirm that asset is actually the true Tether. So this step might be a bit tricky. So, and it might vary depending on the VPS that you have or the domain that you have. So we'll try to make a guide to make that easier. And we're also working on trying different approaches to make the proof of ownership a bit easier for regular users. But what you do is like you download a file that we create for you, and then you upload that to your domain. So just give me 1 second so I can upload that to my test domain. All right. And that's basically saying, let's see if it's already there. It's like a text file that says like authorize linking this domain to this specific liquid asset, something that needs to go to your domain. And then you just like click verify. So what we do is like we make sure that you have that domain, that file in your domain, so that that gives us proof that you actually own that domain. And then we grab that information and we register your asset on the asset registry. But let me just do it later, so I'll show you what I mean by the asset registry. So this is my Kagane liquid asset. And this is all the information that I've included, like the name, the ticker, the domain that's associated. So when your asset is not registered, so it's not, you haven't proved that you own that domain, this information won't show up in any other platform, any other service. So like if you go to your Green Wallet and you send this asset to that Green Wallet, you will only see that long string in here, which is the asset ID, and people won't be able to see like human readable information. So that's why you want to register this asset. So let's go and register it. So yeah, one other thing that we don't allow at the moment is that you can't upload an asset, associate an icon to your asset unless you've proven your ownership. So let's go there, prove ownership. I'll show you that that file's already there. So I'll go click verify. So right now we're talking to the Blockstream Asset Registry, sending all this information. So then services that use the Blockstream Asset Registry as like a source of metadata, they'll be able to display all this information. There we go. So we've successfully, like the tool has successfully verified your domain and we've registered your asset. So now my Kagane asset has like all other services can then pull this information and show it to the users. So like my Green Wallet, Sites of Wallet, Blockstream Explorer, etc. They'll be able to show this information to everyone. All right, I do have my asset, but then I want to add an icon so people, when they receive it into their wallets, they can quickly see what that's about. So I'm going to go to upload an icon. So there's some guidelines, some things that need to be followed for this icon to be valid. You have the information here. I do have a Kagane image ready, so I'll use that one for my asset. And you can see a little bit of like a preview of what that looks like in like dark background, light background. So I'll go and submit it. So what happens now is this icon, like the image, needs to get reviewed by us, and then once that's approved, that icon will show up in your, like if you receive that asset in your wallet, that icon will show up there. All right, so let's say I've issued this asset, it has an icon there. So what I want to do is like I go to a meetup right now, so I want to distribute this asset to some people. So I do have that option to distribute it. So before we go there, let me show you, because it should be, there we go. So I'm showing you my Marina wallet, and you can see that now Marina can also show that metadata. So that's Kagane, Kaga, and then the 21 amount. So that's the issuance came here. So I do have my that token in my wallet. And now I have it in my wallet, but I want to send it to some of the people. Like I go to this meetup, they're really interested in my Kagane figurine, so I'll tell them, hey, I'll give you this asset, and you can go to my e-commerce store and redeem it for a Kagane. So you can start this flow here. So you input liquid wallets. Sorry, like you request a liquid address from that person. Say like, hey, I'll send you one to you, and then I do have another address, and I'll send two to this person. And you can like keep adding more people if you want. Just keep it at 2. So there's like a bit of like review of what's going on here. So I'm gonna go and confirm my distribution. So what the wallet is doing now, it's sending a PSCT to my Marina wallet and telling me what's going on here, the address that it's sending to, and the amount. We want to work with the Marina guys to maybe improve a little bit the information that's shown here. But like what I'm gonna do is like approve this transaction. There we go. So I signed that transaction and my distribution has been confirmed. So if you go to the page of your asset, you can see that that happened here, the amount of assets that you distributed. You see information about the original issuance. And there's some extra information here about like circulating amount, stuff like that. All right, so that's the distribution flow. Let's say I see a lot of demand of people for this Kagane. So I call my manufacturer and say like, hey, we need to produce more. 21, it's not enough. So we need more than that. But because I'm going to produce more figurines, then I also want to create more of this token. So I can reissue more of this token. Let's say I do want 21 more. So basically come here, continue. It's telling you the current circulating balance, the amount that I'm going to reissue, and what will be the new total. So we'll confirm the reissues there. Again, trying to work a bit of like the information that's shown on Marina, but I'll sign this piece set. And there we go. We've completed a reissuance. So right now, instead of having only 21 Kagane voucher tokens, we do have 41. Well, minus these 3 that I already sent, but in existence, we do have like 42 Kagane tokens. And if I go to my Marina wallet, you can see that now I do have those extra ones that I've reissued here. Finally, the last thing maybe I want to show you is the burn action. And the burn action, what it does is just reduce the circulating amount of assets. So let's say, I don't know, like when the users come and redeem my token, I do want to tell them you had that unique token and I want to burn it. So like that's never going to be used again. Like that, I don't know, edition of the Kagane, it'll be gone forever. So I can go to the burn action, which is pretty similar to the reissuance. So I'm just going to burn 5 Kaganes forever. So I'll hit continue. Similar thing, showing you what's the current circulating balance, the amount that we want to burn, and what will be the new total. So I'll go and confirm burn. Similar thing, PSET, send to Marina. All right, and the burn has been completed. Something interesting about burns is that they are provable, so people can just go and check the block explorer like on chain, and they'll be able to see how much did you burn, and that's always going to be public information that's stored in the up return. So those are the 5 Kaganes that I just burned. All right, I think the other last part I want to tell you, maybe that's not related to my use case. I mean, that's the silly use case I was showing you, so you can get like a bit of like context of how you will use this tool. But there's a new feature that's called the import asset. So what this does is, let's say you've already issued your asset using elements or any other means, but you haven't been able to submit an icon for your asset. So what you can do is you can import the asset ID here of that asset that was issued outside of this tool. We'll generate another file that you need to add to your domain. So that will, again, tell us that you are the rightful owner of that domain, and then you have control of that token. And once you do that and you click verify, then what you'll see is like the same, but very similar UI for regular users. Like you won't be able to do any action like distribute, issue, burn, but what you'll be able to do is manage the icon that's associated to that asset. All right, I think that's an overview of the tool. So I'm gonna stop the demo now and I'll go back. Oh no, one more thing, sorry. Something that's really important. We do have now a feedback form, and we really want to hear what you guys think about it. So please come here, let us know for things you like, what you don't like, how you will change or improve it, because that will help us make a tool that works for you. All right. So where are we? Yeah, I think before the Q&A, I was telling you that we don't have support for AMP yet, but we're working on that. Like what we're doing right now is working on a different app that will be a desktop app that will have a similar UI as the one that I show you, but it will support AMP assets, and you'll be able to do all these actions that I show you of like issuing, reissuing, distributing, burning, and also streamline this interaction with the assets registry for all the asset metadata and the icon, for instance. But it will give you that extra ability to interact with the AMP server seamlessly. So you can do that with API. So you can it's like really well documented API for AMP, and you can do it there. But what we want to do is like wrap all those API calls and logic in this tool, so it's also easier for like non-technical people to use it. And you can do other actions like reporting that I was mentioning, like sending dividends, voting, etc. And that will be connected to your Elements node, so it'll be also a non-custodial tool. And what we want to do is like abstract all the setup and like maybe the more tedious technical aspects, so you can start working on your business idea right away. All right, I think that is everything. So we can open it to questions right now. So pass it over to you, Chase.
Cool. Yeah, great presentation. I think there was just one question here in the chat. They're asking about, if there's any limitations on who can create an asset. Is it available for anyone? So I don't know if you want to quickly go over that.
Yeah, for sure. So for the tool that I show you, anyone can go and access. You just need to create an account right now for standard assets. So you can go ahead and start playing with that. For AMP assets, you do need to contact Blockstream so you can get AMP credentials. So I'll find the email that you can use if you're interested in that for those more regulated assets.
There was a few other questions that I had that came up during the presentation. Can you reissue like more reissue tokens? So like what happens in like a hypothetical where I use all my reissue tokens. Am I able to issue more, or is there a way to circumvent that? Like what's
so when you do a reissuance, you don't you technically spend your reissuance token, but then that goes back to your wallet. So it's like not like if you want to do 5 reissuances as a process, you can use just one, like the same reissuance token every time.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Chase?
Yeah. There was also I saw that the icon to be approved, it was pending. So what's the usual turnaround for that?
It's around like 3 to 4 days. Like it needs to be reviewed and then gets picked up and uploaded to the asset registry. So I'll say like around 3 to 4 days is the usual turnaround for that.
Great, but the actual registration of the asset happens almost instantly, right?
It's like like the registration of the other metadata like name, ticker, and stuff like that. Once you click verify me, if we're able to find that proof file in your domain, then it's instant.
Awesome. Looks like there's another question in the chat here. can you give some explanations about? I think he's asking about like kind of the use cases for these standard assets. I don't know if you want to talk about maybe voucher tokens and some of the other use cases that you mentioned.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like for the voucher token, for instance, on Blockstream, we do have one that's called the BJ token. So that's a voucher token that represents a jade, and you can, I think, on SideSwap you can go and trade them, like you can buy them there, and you can then go to the Blockstream store and redeem it for a jade. So that's one of the use cases that will be like similar to what I presented here. Um, uh, I don't know if your question, Claudio, is about the domain, so the one that you use to prove ownership. Yeah, as I said, like that's probably a bit of like the point that has like most friction here. So if you have a bit of like knowledge on like, I guess like web servers and stuff like that, you can easily find how to upload that. But there's limitations depending on the like the VPS that you have that hosts your domain, because you might not have access to like root access to upload a file. So we're trying to work on a maybe other approaches where you can still prove that you own a domain, like adding a DNS record or things that are a bit more accessible. But yeah, that's a bit of like the tricky part here. So we're also working on making a guide that can at least give a starting point for users. So depending on their the registry that they use, that they can figure out how to upload that file. I
Um, Sorry, you can just kind of handle it if you want to.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
see Eric asking if you need LPTC to issue assets. So no. So you can like we're doing the issuance, like we're covering the cost for the issuance right now. But you do need LBTC if you are doing distributions, reissuances, or burns, because that's coming from your Marina wallet. And then Chuck Norris, what was the purpose of building this platform? To have Liquid better compete against Ethereum, create further use cases for Liquid users. I would say like one thing that happens sometimes at Blockstream is like we do create all this infrastructure, all these cool code and libraries and things like that, but we don't maybe provide a tangible use case where people that maybe don't have a higher technical background can take advantage of. So I guess one of the motivations is also to like let people like see what you can do with Liquid. So you can use this tool to do it or not. You can just go and build it yourself. But this is like an example of like the things that you can do on Liquid, and like showcase that asset issuance is like a key feature on Liquid, and you can take advantage if that works for your use case.
I know you mentioned the AMP desktop version, which is in the pipeline. Are there any other kind of other features or new functionality that's coming to this tool in the near term?
Um, I'll say like maybe we want to keep improving a bit the UI of some of these flows. Like maybe the distribution part, we want to make it a bit more, yeah, like show a bit more information. It's very simple. Have a bit more information in here. I think like help coordinating with the Marina Wallet guys so we can also improve the information that's shown there. I think that's also on our roadmap. Maybe a bit more like some other options to like filter or like search your assets. I think that's it's like what comes to my mind right now.
Cool, makes sense. Yeah, I think that's why it's important to get some feedback from the community here.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. So please go use it and send a lot of feedback from the feedback form here.
awesome. Well, if there's no further questions, I think we can wrap it up. Thanks, Juan, for doing this. It was a really thoughtful and great presentation. and the recording should automatically upload to the Bowl2 platform, and then we'll get it on YouTube here pretty quickly. And I think you're going to spin up a thread in the platform as well, right? Just if there's any like lingering questions or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. If you guys have more questions, just like please go post them there, or like any other ideas or comments. We'll be happy to answer them.